Oh, this is
We
weird.
are going live now, so
We're going live now. Okay, fine.
all right. I think we are live. This is Toni Weel, and I have Sara with us as usual, but she can't hear us. So I don't know how to fix that. Maybe it's on her end. We have Eli with us who can hear us just fine.
Hello,
And
hello.
yeah, Eli Martyr from the FreeMelon Society. And I I have to introduce him at least a little. I'll have him do the rest. Because when I found him online on YouTube, I don't know how or when, but it's been years. And after I actually graduated from Dr. Morse's courses and became an official detox specialist and iridologist, and I found Eli's videos, and he was teaching all kinds of stuff that was like, oh my gosh, I haven't seen that before. And it was like, it's little things, ingredient label awareness, it's meat eating issues. Now, I went to his YouTube channel, so I suggest everyone going there. The link is in the description, so easy to find, including his Facebook page. But he has food and meal tips and the origin and nature of disease series about fasting. Of course, I got about occult wisdom series. I haven't watched that one yet, so
Ooh,
I have some more to do. But it
indeed.
is all about health and wellness. And he is also a long-term fruitarian, either longer than I have. And I was like, we have to even learn even more from him. How did he do it? What made him do it? Where do you start? There are so many people struggling with just that one first step. How to start and what to do and how to maintain it. And I remember you are actually living in Canada, in the cold part, and you are still being a fruitarian. And that is the first problem I always hear is that no, you cannot do this if it is cold. And I'm like, well, put on the heater and put on some extra clothes. Okay, Eli, what's your take on all that?
Well, first of all, thank you very, very much for having me. I'm always very appreciative of people that are willing to hear me out and to help to share this message of a natural way to live, or at least a way that aligns closer to a natural modality of living. What one that harmonizes more closely to what our physiological imperative would be. Yeah. And so I'm always very happy to have people that are interested in that lifestyle, in that path, in that type of development, that type of higher development, because it is a form of higher development. Make no mistake. And it takes a certain person to recognize the value inherent in something like this. As much as it might seem at the face of it that we're just talking about eating, right? And it's like, oh, it's just this trivial thing. It's not. It's not, because you make such constitutional changes to yourself that you are in effect becoming a different human being, a better human being. And it's very important. So thank you. Anyway, what I'm trying to say is I really do deeply appreciate you having me on your platform to talk about stuff like this. So yeah, thank you very much.
Well, you have so much to share, Eli, and it is often the simple things, the simple changes that we can make to start.
Yeah.
But I'm always seeing the justification of still eating the meat, the dairy, the oils, we just had a big discussion that actually got quite nasty about oils
Oh,
in the Dr. Morse fans group. I'm an
oh,
admin.
really?
Yeah, I'm an admin in that group, and it has 42,000 members in there.
Yeah.
And you see members that have never responded to anything, but if it was about oils and how healthy olive oil is, and I was, no, it's processed food. It's not a real food. You cannot make a
Yeah.
meal out of it.
Yeah. Yeah. That's kind of surprising. I would not have expected to hear that in in a Dr. Morse group. I would have
Well,
imagined that everyone understood that
no,
almost that basic tenet of natural hygiene, no?
yeah, you get a lot of people in who have heard that you can heal following Dr. Morse's protocol. But then there are others, yes, but you can use well, all the other names and then combine it, and that's like, no, 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 keep it simple.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
keep it simple. And
Yeah.
people make it complicated, and they don't want to give up on their salads with oils or, cook with oils. People were asking me, how do you cook? And it was like, well, if I cook, which is not often, I use water, I use steam.
Yeah.
I can steam my
Yes.
veggies, and I don't need oil. And yes, I've used the what is it, coconut oil, call it the MTC oil, and that
Hmm.
is so healthy. And yeah, I thought that for a while too. So
Hmm.
I was stocking up on big jars from Sam's Club
Yeah.
with coconut
Yeah.
oil. And then I learned the truth, and I was like, no, it doesn't make sense.
No.
It's
No.
in yeah.
Yeah. It's how do I say it? I think one of the biggest stumbling blocks that people can encounter when they are well, before I say that, maybe I should just frame what we're talking about, like what frame what I mean when we say this lifestyle, right? Okay. I'm not sure about your audience and how familiar they are with the kind of natural hygiene principles, kind of the esoteric philosophy of health. I don't know. So just go over it really quickly. So when I say this when I refer to this lifestyle, okay, this kind of natural lifestyle, what I'm talking about is I'm talking about a lifestyle that harmonizes with the limitations and the endowments of your God-given body. Okay, that's what we're talking about here. And we're orienting ourselves around the recognition, okay? Not the theory, not the arbitrary man-made concept, okay? We're talking about the recognition of the fact that in creation, organisms are generally designed with a particular diet that is allotted to them specifically, right? Based on what their machinery allows or does not allow. And so human beings have this very interesting mental handicap where we don't have the ability to recognize that we too, as human beings, should be bound by the same laws that we see exemplified in nature at every moment of every second of life, right? We look out our windows, we see birds, we see squirrels, we see well, at least here in Toronto, that's what you can see. You might be seeing other animals where you live, right? Maybe you stare out your window and you see a bunch of kangaroos, right? I don't see those, but it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what examples of life you see out your window or when you're just living out your life. But these animals, they seem to effortless. Okay, when I say effortlessly, like truly effortlessly eat and live and do their dietary routine without any and intellectualizing. There's nothing going on there besides just a beautiful, graceful, harmonious obedience to a natural instinct, to a natural calling, natural prerogative. Yeah. And we notice that, and there's something about it that's just beautiful to watch, right? You see a deer eating in the meadow. It's beautiful. It's so simple, right? It's just such a simple approach, and we just marvel at that, like, oh yeah, look at that, right? He's just, just eat it, or whatever it is, a squirrel, a duck, or a horse. Even though these, horses are largely domesticated, right? That adds a little bit of a confounding element into the picture. But anyway, back to what I'm saying is that we have the ability as human beings to somehow recognize this natural pattern that we see all around us in the natural world. But when it comes to regarding ourselves, we fail to lump ourselves in to the natural order that binds everything else. And so we believe as human beings that we can, because we have this gift of intellectualism, right? And pattern recognition, because we believe that we have this gift, that we have been given license to do absolutely anything and everything and consume it, right? Because we can change things and modify things in a way that other animals can't by virtue of our intelligence. So when I talk about living a natural modality of life, what I'm talking about is I'm talking about um, getting past the arrogance of believing that you are exempt from the natural order that binds all of life. And you, as a human being, also have a natural diet prescribed to you that you cannot do anything about. So you can choose to harmonize with it and reap the benefits. You can also choose to act and live in antagonism to that, and there are consequences. And if it were up to me, I would rather live in harmony, go with the flow, right? The rivers flowing downstream. I'd rather just jump in and just relax and let the stream take me where I'm supposed to go rather than try to swim uphill, right? This is what we try to do when we live and eat in opposition to natural principles, is we are effectively swimming uphill. Yeah. So uh, you can effortlessly empower your life by trusting in nature and doing what you're physiologically obligated to do. And when you discover that and when you realize that and it clicks, yeah, all of a sudden you've just given yourself this immense power over life that is hard to describe unless you actually do it. Okay. So that was a very long-winded explanation of what we're talking about, but I just wanted to get that out of the way so that people know exactly what I'm talking about when I say this, right? And I should also say that this diet that we are physiologically obligated to eat, it's a diet that can't require any cooking, processing, or any kind of human trickery or contrivance to modify, right? Because that's not how nature works. Nature doesn't require you to do anything to your food. You're supposed to just be able to go after whatever the food source is. If your biological equipment leads you to that thing, to that source, and it's efficient, and you can manage to make meals out of that thing. Okay, on and on. So we're talking about, in the human body, fruits, leafy greens, and nuts and seeds, right? Those three categories make up what I would call a human diet. These are the foods that you can eat and relish. Your taste senses keenly relish these flavors as they naturally come without any modification, adulteration, processing, or homogenization, whatever, right? These are the only three foods that you can really do that to. And thus, that tells us something, that gives us information intuitively, naturally, without any recourse to any scientific anything, right? You don't need that in order to effortlessly uh, empower your body to exemplify health, boundless health. So long as you obey, that's and which is the problem. Human beings have a problem with uh, the concept of obeying a higher authority. We don't like to imagine that we have an authority that we have to bend the knee to, right? But the thing about this authority is it's a benevolent one. And if you bend the knee to this authority, it doesn't enslave you, it liberates you and it frees you. Yeah. So that's what we're talking about. Okay. So got that out of the way.
Well,
um,
thank you for explaining that. Now, something comes up, it's like with a newborn. They get breastfed, and once they are about 6 months old, they can have some more solid food. Now, we forcing, and I did that too to my daughter way, way, way back, and thinking that I was doing the right thing, and she had to eat the meat and the cooked foods and everything. But I do believe, and I've heard that quite often, that, and even Dr. Morse talks about that quite a lot, is that children intuitively grab the food. If you put several foods there, some cooked, some candy, and fruit, they always go for the fruit. So I think intuitively we still have that in us. We are just taught, you have to eat other things.
exactly.
Have you heard about that? Do you know people who worked with that?
Yeah, yeah. I'm definitely familiar with the idea of how children's sensitivities are framed and oriented, right? Because their minds, their bodies, their nervous systems, their taste senses, they haven't been polluted yet by human concepts when they're young, okay? And they're on maybe just breast milk for the very first years of life. But then something unfortunate happens, like you said, where the kid runs into the dietary superstitions of silly adults. And what happens is these silly superstitions, dietary superstitions, they start making their way into the kids' diet, and we get the ball rolling to create a very normal adult, a very normal set of problems that we see plaguing humanity right now, modern humanity. And because everybody is under these kind of erroneous cultural diet errors, right? Because everybody is being plagued by this kind of mental delusion about what human beings are supposed to eat. Disease and illness and just adverse health conditions of all flavors and all varieties are given a pass, a badge of normality. And we've just accepted that this is a default condition inherent in human life. It is not, right? It is not at all. Absolutely not. It is a condition, or it is a product. Okay, what it is a product of strict natural laws just being carried out to the letter, right? If Mother Nature is anything, it is 100% unshakable, infinitely reproducible, unchanging binding laws, right? Mathematically precise laws, like any math formula. It'll just constantly spit out the product of what you put into it, right? And when we plug into the formula the condition of a body that is not obeying its natural calling, then the result is mathematically is what we see today, the human condition, right? Rife with disease. plagued with illness, right? And that's a problem, right? That's a problem. So yeah, with kids, okay, sorry, I'm sorry, getting excited. So getting back to what we're saying about kids, right? You were asking, if I was familiar with how this works with kids. Yeah, with kids, uh, we as parents have this immense responsibility where we have an opportunity to give kids an unbelievable advantage in life in general. Unbelievable advantage. And we would give them, if we love our kids, we would give them this advantage by starting them off in life uh, living in harmony with their sensitivities right away, right? There's no need to start polluting our young children with silly human dietary cultural concepts, conventional eating concepts. All right, if we can find a way uh, to disentangle ourselves and our minds from those concepts and just kind of return to what's natural, you would raise children that are, well, just far more ahead, far more ahead of how children are typically reared.
I have
Um,
seen children who were raised on mostly on fruit well, actually the natural hygiene way of living,
yeah,
of eating, and they were very, I don't know if I can pronounce that word correctly, inquisitive,
yeah,
and
yeah,
they were different. They were so different, and
yeah,
not the ADHD type of children you see so much right
right,
now. Now, I
right,
have to say that these kids were not vaccinated either, so there was
right.
already a big difference.
Huge difference, I can imagine.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but we still get parents even have to be careful
yeah,
with the schools if they are not homeschooling,
right.
not to share what kind of diet they have because it is considered insufficient.
Not amazing. Yeah,
Yeah, it
yeah,
it absolutely it is, and but you see the same with the with animals. I mean,
yeah.
I've had a cat rescue in sanctuary,
Uh,
and I tried. I really these were older cats, sick cats, and I really tried to get them on their natural food, which is
mhm,
pretty much impossible. These cats they had human diseases.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
crazy.
Human
And
disease.
they have so many medication now for the cats too. It's like and the animal clinics. It was like I gave up on that. And I tried to feed my I have less cats now because I was like, okay, enough is enough. I lived the last 20
Yeah.
plus years for only for the cats.
Oh wow.
I had many. I had 36.
Oh, incredible.
I took in a feral colony that was about to be killed, and I couldn't let that happen. So I had my fun with feral cats in the house.
Oh, wonderful, wonderful.
But and I have seen it with my dog. I'm from the Netherlands, and I took a puppy home from that I had found.
Yeah,
Young dog, but she seems to be half wild. And instead of eating the food, I didn't know any better then. We had the commercial foods, and I'm talking about a long time ago.
yeah.
And this dog knew what he needed to eat, and that was he was chasing rabbits anytime he would get loose, and chasing the sheep, which wasn't a good thing. So we had to confine him to a smaller space that he could, or that C couldn't get out. It was
Right,
very much an
right.
alpha dog, but even when she had puppies and we went into a nature area, she was playing with her puppies. The puppies were maybe about 6 weeks old, and we thought, together with the dad,
Yeah,
have them play. And all of a sudden, she disappeared, and we had to wait for an hour until she came back. So we
yeah.
loaded them all up in the car again, and then she started throwing up what she had caught as food for the puppies.
Right, right.
That was poor rabbit.
Hmm. Mm,
But anyway, it's like, we give them foods that are not natural to them. We do that with our children. And sometimes we don't have a choice. I know of Sarah, she with
yeah.
her son, she doesn't have a choice, and maybe she wants to talk about it. I'll leave that up to her. But
Mm,
that too happens, and I got a very well pretty healthy child, but when I was
mhm.
pregnant, and this was not conscious, I was like all I wanted to eat was apples. All I ate
Oh,
through the whole pregnancy was apples,
interesting.
which was
Interesting.
actually a good thing. And I had
Yes.
a rather easy delivery. And yeah, she went through childhood with some of the so-called diseases children get, like measles, but it
Mm,
only lasted a very short time.
yes.
And
Yes.
never doctors or medication or anything was involved, and that was quite different for myself
Right.
because I was
Right.
forced on milk with 6 months old. Well, there you have your ear infections.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, there and people don't make that link, and it still don't. And it is like they come with all kind of scientifically proven. And we
Yeah.
can go into the proteins. I'm sure that many people ask you
Mhm,
with your work and what you do physically. It's
mhm.
like, what about the proteins?
Yeah. 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 I know. It's a very, very common one. And I just and well, and we yeah, we can I can jump onto that subject. But just right before I do, I just wanted to say, yeah, with our care of animals, it's isn't it funny? The only three uh, types of animal really that we see having problems with life, right, in terms of getting diseases and getting sick, and it's humans, cats, and dogs. Really, it's only the three of them that we see that have the most trouble. And isn't it ironic, or coincidental that they're the two most readily domesticated animals out there, right? So
Mhm.
it's humans and the animals in our care. That's who's sick on this planet, right? Go figure. Whose fault is that?
Absolutely.
It's
Yeah.
it's us. It's us. It's us. Come on, man. Come on. It's our silly concepts of what it means to eat and live as a human being that is just waging war on our health, right? It's us. Right?
And nobody's actually really catching on to that, huh?
No one really catches on. How many years, decades, right? Centuries do we need to have the example drawn out clearly for us that what we're doing with our eating culture is wrong. There's something wrong with it. We see disease and illness rampant all throughout the
Mhm.
ages. It's like, oh my goodness, when do
Well,
we
we're
learn?
very distracted, and that's one of the things is we have to work, we have sports, we have our children in school, everybody's so distracted that they can't focus or even begin to learn the truth. And
Right,
so everybody
right,
just goes with it. But on the
yeah.
animals, and by the way, Eli, I'm Sara, Virtuous Unicorns. I have no idea. I could not hear in the beginning. And so I'm
Oh,
actually calling in from my phone because for some reason I still couldn't hear you
oh,
guys on my computer. But sorry I'm late.
okay.
And
Oh, that's okay.
welcome. I'm very excited for you to be on our show with us. And Toni and I've talked about you for a long time. So thank you so much.
Oh, oh, that's
But
sweet. No, thank you guys. Yeah, yeah.
great.
Pleasure's all mine. I'll
Well,
finish it.
well, I have a horse, and my veterinarian comes out, and they do kind of like a filing down of their teeth, which it's not too invasive for
Yeah,
him
yeah.
because he has pretty good teeth. But some horses will get where their teeth start to sharpen really bad. But I was
Oh,
asking
interesting.
him just in talking, and I said, "Well, like, do we have to check for cavities?" And he said,
Yeah,
"Horses don't get cavities."
yeah,
And I
yeah,
was like, "Well, why not?" And he goes, "Because they don't eat meat." And I was like, well, they told us it was all the sweets that gave us
yeah,
cavities, right? And
yeah.
I mean, my horse eats peppermints and he eats carrots and apples and his grain and his hay, and of course whatever else he finds out in the field. So I mean, he gets a lot of sugar, and a lot of a lot of the grain for horses has molasses and sugars and everything in it too.
Right.
So again, like as soon as he told me that, I was like, "Wow, I didn't think about that." So I love how the more we get into this, the more we talk, and the more we start putting all the links together, it's just like we've been lied to forever.
Yeah. I think you know when I first started doing this, that that sentiment that you just described there, just being lied to, oh, that didn't sit well in my stomach. I didn't like that. I didn't like it, it was because it insulted my intelligence.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, I'm a proud guy. I'm like, uh, me? You're not gonna insult my intelligence? What you? Oh, I refuse. It was just, it was awful. It was an awful feeling to know that I had been taken, right? I'd been had for so many years, and
Mm-hmm.
that just having my intelligence insulted, that was enough to kind of shake me out of my stupor and be like, oh, oh God, this is beneath me. No, no, this is no longer part of my life. Hell no, right? I'm not going to be led like a, you know, like an out of control dog by my lower senses and just, you know, going after all these deliberately how do I say this? Concocted chemicals, food-based chemicals, and combinations of all sorts of compounds that are designed to fool me, right? To play my mind for a fool, right? To play my mind body connection, you know, for a fool. They're designed to do that. They're designed to capture your fascination, right? And to oh, it's just so anyway. I'm going down that line of thinking, and it's just I really didn't like what I was seeing, and I'm like, no way. I'm not. I don't want to be fooled anymore by something as trivial as my diet. Are you kidding me? You know, I'm the master of this ship, right? Anyway, and at least this is how I'm conceptualizing it. And I think that insult, that initial insult that I had been so thoroughly fooled and that I couldn't see, you know, all the health problems that you're just constantly chronically dealing with, and you're just not putting two and two together. It's just like, oh my God, I don't want to believe I was that silly, right? So I let that personal insult against me, I let that kind of fuel my motivation for rising above that, and never ever looking back, right? Never ever looking back, because looking back, there's nothing in that lifestyle that serves me. There's nothing in that lifestyle that serves the vision that I have of myself in the future, right? Of just being a better and better person. And none of these kind of the more adulterated dietary indiscretions that we're talking about, none of those do it. None of them help you get there. And yeah, so I let that kind of fuel my motivation for sticking to this, right? You were asking
Mm-hmm.
earlier, like how do you manage, like how do you stick to this type of lifestyle, right? When the world is unsupportive, and it's, you know, your mind, right? Your mind, your own motivation. Like if you can find your own flavor of motivation, you don't really need anything else. Everything else just kind of falls into place once you are completely convicted and confident and, you know, boldly calm and collected about the direction you want to go. Oh man, nothing will bloody stop you, right? You're not gonna be the person that has to relapse 100 times. It's just no. It's just this is how it is, right? You've got
Mm-hmm.
your
It's very
principles, and you stick to them.
Yeah, it's very freeing too. What we were just talking about in the
Mm,
chat. A lot of the people are kind of leading a nomadic life as well too, and or even if
yeah,
you're not leading nomadic at home, like what's for dinner? Here's a bag of apples.
yeah,
Here's some oranges. Here's a
yeah,
salad. I mean,
yeah.
going to the store now is just so much easier. But I know, and maybe you guys already talked about in the very beginning, but a lot of people always have questions. How do you stay a frugivore in the cold weather? And I know you've answered that a dozen times on your shows,
Yeah,
but we do get that question a lot as well.
right, right. And I always say, I'm like, I get the question, but I'm always caught a little bit because I don't really know how to answer, because it just it was never a thing. Like it was never something that came to my mind, right? The winter's coming, okay. Yeah, the temperature drops a little bit. But I mean, even in my first year when I was doing this, because I think I started a little bit before the winter season. I started like tail end of summer, or maybe in during the summer I started. And so, but by the time the winter came, it was enough time on this trial period of this lifestyle that the ease and the simplicity and the cleanliness, the feeling of cleanliness. Oh, I'm so sorry. Okay, hold on. Let me just turn that off. Oh, sorry about that. Okay. All right, I'm back. Yeah, the ease and simplicity and the beauty of it, right? The feeling of how harmonious this diet felt. Man, within a couple of weeks, I was already getting that feeling like, yeah, there's no turning back. Like this is it. I can feel it. Like, of course, it has to be this. How could it be anything else, right? This is how I'm thinking. So when winter rolled around, my mind was already made up. Like that was it, right? So I've discovered now. Okay, I've now discovered that there is a much, much, much better way to live my dietary life. Okay, so I've made this discovery. So winter comes along. I still have the same grocery stores that are open every day, right? Nothing's changed. They haven't gone away just because it's the winter time. So I mean, I just keep going back to them. And yeah, the food changes with the season, but yeah, so the food changes with the season. Okay, great. So have some slightly different food when the winter rolls around. And then in terms of, oh gosh, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Yeah, and then in terms of like temperature and whatnot, I mean, yeah, you heat your house. You have sweaters. I have clothes. We're so privileged. I have clothes. I have long johns. I have sweaters. I've got jackets. I've got coats. I've got hats. None of this had anything to do with what I was eating, right? So I just never made the connection, like as a problem that I had to deal with. It was just never there. And even let's just say, for the sake of argument, let's just say I was colder one night, right? What am I gonna do? I'm gonna go back to some of like the stuff that I was eating prior to making this change that I know was making me sick. I'm just gonna do that for the sake of warming up? No, I'll throw on a sweater, right? So I don't know. It was just, yeah, I get the question very often, but when I think about it, and like, I, man, I never this was never even an afterthought. All that I was considering was, hey, this new diet's exciting, and I'm enjoying it, right? That's it. And then the
Mm-hmm.
years rolled on, and never considering anything special, just because of the winter time. Right.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you
Yeah.
know what it also is, Eli and Sarah, is people need they're not fully committed yet.
Yeah, yeah,
They need some kind of justification that what they are doing is right. And if it's cold,
right.
you're supposed to eat, the hot food. And I was like, well, if it's necessary, drink hot water with lemon or tea.
Yeah,
But there are, yeah, people keep talking about let's talk about the comfort foods. We,
Mhm.
in the Netherlands, we had never heard, about comfort foods way back. I've been living here for 20 years now. I've been traveling in the US since 81. So I do know a little bit about, when all these things started. And I was kind of surprised when it came out with comfort food because that is absolutely the worst foods for us. And I see a lot of time people and I'm as committed as I am, I have to admit that I can be an emotional eater. I feel bad and I want to eat. As long as I have my grapes and my bananas and everything right in front of me, it is not a problem.
Mhm.
But I definitely will never eat meat again, and or dairy or eggs for that matter. In but yeah, I once in a while eat cooked food, but it's unrelated to the weather. I cannot
Yes.
even remember living in the Netherlands, and we can have cold winters,
Mhm.
and that we were ever like, oh my gosh, I need something hot. So this has been brought in by, well, you know what I mean. We have been indoctrinated in all directions, and it is just something people tell themselves. And I think all that we can do is keep empowering people in getting the truth out. But if you have 99 people tell you the wrong thing and only one person tells you what is actually the truth, it
Mhm.
is for many people, it is really difficult to follow that one person, or to really listen to that. And as an example, I had the one comment with that oil where I said, it's not natural food, it's not meant for us. I know what university did you go to and what research, and I was like, this is crazy. So I deleted it. It's like I don't even want to go that direction.
Yeah, you gotta love it, right? It's
Oh
it's
yeah,
it's
yeah.
it's the people that are apparently the most educated on the subject. It's just it's something about the way that the educational system has been designed. It's focus in terms of nutrition. Okay, I'm not speaking about all of it. Just in terms of nutrition, it's so myopic and it's so reductionist. It's so zoomed in to a picture of a forest that all you can see is a couple pixels, right? And we think that we can understand something about that picture by looking at these couple of pixels, right? It's we frame how we should be eating based on individual elements that make up food. But that that makes about as little sense as me coming to a determination about your character by examining your pancreas, right? That I can't do that. In order for me to come to an understanding of who you, Toni, are as a person, I need to interact with you, Toni, the person, as an entire complete entity. If I rip your pancreas, so okay, sorry, excuse the violent imagery. I don't know why I'm choosing those terms, but let's just say I were to examine your pancreas, right? I could, yeah, I couldn't figure out anything about you really as a person. And I would suggest that in this nutrition science world, when we do the same thing, we try to understand food by understanding the elements that make up food. And that's silly because that's 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 not how we work, right? We don't understand things in that way naturally. Uh, and when we do that scholastic approach to understanding nutrition, that's the problem, is that we come up with error after error after error, right? We've put the cart before the horse. We get it backwards. We should be framing our understanding of nutrition based on our intuitive, common sense, God-given natural instincts, right? And natural sensitivities, and we can use science then to supplement what makes sense and what fits with kind of natural principles that we've been discovered. That is how we should be using the sciences, not the other way around. Right? And we see, yeah. So anyway, this is what happens, right? You now go in the world, right? You have this understanding of natural principles that kind of look over and control life as we know it, right? And you come across these ostensible professionals, and they've got their their nutritional understanding, and you give them a concept and they just kind of throw it back in your face like, no, 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 you need your this and that supplement, you need your 0 0.8 grams of protein per kilogram of body weight, you need your this, all that stuff. So I find it just confuses, right? It just adds all this confusion and complexity to something that was designed by, call it God, call it nature. It was designed by God to be absolutely effortless, right? Absolutely effortless and easy and beautiful. Uh, and I wish people could feel how simple and easy and just a weight off your shoulders, like not having to think or make any considerations really whatsoever besides where your natural instincts lead you. If we could find the comfortable faith in that Mother Nature has not made a mistake with how you're designed, but it's just I guess it just takes some instruction before someone can get comfortable with that idea. So we people like ourselves, we have a lot of work to do still. Get the good word out
Well, there is usually more to unlearn than to learn.
there. Ooh, well said. Well said. Yes, I like that. That is so true. Ah, that's so true. So true. Yeah.
Yeah, but the indoctrination goes really, really, really deep. There are
Mhm.
the discussions that I mentioned oil now, but there is always discussions about teeth and how teeth get damaged because of
Pete.
the fruits.
Okay. Yes. Yes.
And it's like, yeah, there are so many videos about it. Some people say, oh, you can regenerate your teeth. Others say it's impossible. But it's
Mhm.
like you can only feed the food. Well, how did I want to say that? Give your body the right fuel,
Yeah.
and that's all you can do because
Yeah.
well, I don't know if you know John Stearns. He was a big
Yeah. Yeah.
document person. He wrote a lot of very long articles and very explanatory in the
Mhm.
Dr. Morse fans group. And he turned to meat, to only
Yeah.
meat. Well, meat and actually raw dairy and was really nasty about Dr. Morse. It was very unpleasant. And he was an admin in that group too, but he was nice enough to remove himself before someone else did. But he is still saying that, and he's been doing that now for a year and a half, that freed the meat is it. And then he talks about lamb chops. And it's like, I don't know how you can do that. It's not, is my reason health, or is my reason that I don't want to hurt any other living being, and that is my most motivation,
Mhm.
not
Mhm.
necessarily my health. And he always said that was his motivation too, but now he
Right.
kills
Yeah.
and says that he is doing so much better and has more energy, and it is confusing for people.
Yeah, it certainly is. I don't know. I don't know what's going on there. That's very hard for me to understand why you'd make that switch. I mean, yeah, he seemed to have it put together, like seemed to understand how it works, right? How when you eat meat, right? Meat is highly invigorating and stimulating, right? Stimulating to the body. It's got okay. In terms of nutrition, we talked about you because you were asking about the protein earlier, right? And you brought up teeth as well. It's interesting, like because this is all related, right? You could there's a story to all of that we could tell when we're talking about adding meat to your diet, right? Uh, protein rich foods, okay? Protein rich foods are very difficult to process in the body, right? They're one of the only well, they're the only macronutrient really that have very toxic acidic byproducts associated with them, right? There are kind of sulfur containing proteins, right? And nitrogen containing proteins as well that that creates, right, once they're cleaved from the carbon and hydrogen and oxygen, right, they create byproducts in the body that are very toxic. Okay. So protein, when you eat protein, the reason meat is so satiating, okay, because in plant-based world, right, you've probably heard from a couple of plant-based lectures. There's lots of them out there, but yeah, different lecturers talk about how when they talk about satiety, we talk about bulk being the thing that gives you satiety, right? Fiber and water, yeah, which is true. That is what gives satiety, but in terms of the actual macronutrients themselves, protein is the it gives you the most satiety because it's the most difficult thing to break down. So when you eat just meat, people can be confused because they've heard, oh, well, wait a minute. I thought fiber and water was supposed to be the be all and end all of what makes me feel satisfied, right? But then you go and eat a whole bunch of meat and you're very satisfied without any fiber and water. But the reason it's satisfying is because it's so difficult to process that it has to linger in your system. It just lingers on and on and on, right? It takes a while to break down, and so that translates to you feeling satiated. Okay. The question is, do you want to be making a staple of your diet something that is that difficult to break down? Because the problem, again, like I said, is that there are these nitrogenous or sulfur-based waste products, the tomines. Okay, it's a class of compounds called tomines that are very acidic and difficult for your kidneys to filter out of the system, especially if they're chronically hit by these acids. So, when your diet is rich with meat, one of the byproducts is uric acid. Okay, it's just a type of acid that's produced by the process of by the digestion of meat products. So that uric acid, it's got to get it's got to get filtered out of the body, and it can irritate. All right, it can irritate the tissues. Right, these heavy acids, they can irritate the gut lining. Right, these acids, they because they burn. Right, acids burn, and if there are too many of them, especially if they're improperly combined with other foods, you start talking about fermentation and all this kind of stuff. But if those acids are not properly eliminated, right, what can happen is the putrefying. Okay, so proteins, when proteins kind of sit and rot, the term we give it is putrefying, right? They're putrescence, right? So proteins tend to putrefy. carbohydrates tend to ferment, right? So we kind of use those two different terms to denote the breakdown of each of those. So when proteins are putrefying in your gut, right, in your GI system, the acids, right, the poisons can kind of travel along the mucus lining up your esophagus, okay, and starts to burn, well, quote unquote burn, right, but to irritate your teeth, right? You ever know? You might notice that meat eaters have worse breath, right? They have bad body odor, okay, bad breath, worse body odor, very, very, very putrid smelling bowel movements. Okay. Yeah, it's because there is putrefying going on in the body. And when there's a lot of putrefying going on in the body, those acids can seep, right? Can seep upward, right? And start to get into the oral cavity, and your teeth will get injured because of that. So over time, right, you've got these acids that are slowly building up in the system, and your mucus membrane is getting coated with these, works its way up to your mouth, and now you've got all these acids that are in your mouth, and it can create cavities, right? Now, that doesn't mean to say that sugar and sweets are absolved from the picture. No, 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 no. These things will help to rot your teeth as well. Make no mistake about that, for sure. But yeah, the real name of the game when it comes to preserving the health of your whole body and your teeth as well is, well, it's twofold, right? It's making sure that you are not eating foods that create rampant acids in your body, right? So you want to eliminate any foods that create these acid waste products and byproducts in your system. And the other element is rest, right? Preserving vital force, right? Making sure that you are not consuming more vital force in your daily activities than you can recover. And if you can get good at managing your expenditures and not poisoning yourself with acidic food, horribly acidic or acid producing foods, then you'll go a long way to looking after your tooth health, right? And of course there's the other little tricks, right? At the end of the night, wash your mouth out with water and a little bit of baking soda, aluminum-free baking soda. So instead, because when you eat, you erode a layer of enamel from your teeth, right? Depending on the type of food that you're eating, of course, it might be more or less severe depending on what you're eating. But generally speaking, when you eat a meal, yeah, there's a layer of tooth enamel that can get a little bit stripped. So right after that, you wouldn't want to brush your teeth immediately, because then by brushing, you would be stripping another layer off. You would want your teeth to have time to reconstitute. So what that means is at the end of a meal, maybe instead of brushing, you save the brushing till the morning after you've had a full night's rest. You can just swill water and just a little bit of baking soda in your mouth and just swish it around for like 3 minutes or whatever it is. And then you can, and then spit it out, and then that's it. Then rinse your mouth out. And that'll help to get rid of and neutralize any little bits of lingering food that's in your mouth, because if they get left there, then they'll excuse me, they'll attract bacteria, and which bacteria is not a bad thing, right? They're entirely necessary. You would not want to live a second of your life without these bacteria. But you want to be mindful of just managing when they're helpful and when they're annoying. So yeah, you just rinse them out so that these bacteria aren't just kind of going nuts and feeding in between your teeth all night, right? Just clear that all out just with some water and baking soda, and that way you have a cleaner mouth when you go to sleep, and then yeah, the next day you can brush your teeth and then be on with. So yeah, there's little tricks that you can do externally, but the real magic is done internally with how you're keeping your internal chemistry, your internal biochemistry, I should say, and what condition that's in. That'll go a lot further in preserving your tooth health.
I have a thank you so much for explaining this, because again, you keep it simple. And
Yeah.
and I see a lot of videos who are supposedly helpful for mouth care,
Mhm.
make it very complicated. And it
Yeah.
is, as everything is, it is simple.
Mhm.
Now, I had asked if there are any questions for you to put it in the chat, and Lisa has a question. Is what are
Okay.
your thoughts on seed vegetables, fruits, seeds, seed, vegetables, fruits? Do you consume any and always raw?
Mm. The seed vegetable fruit. You mean like the savory fruits
Yeah,
that are
I think
vegetables?
so. Yeah.
Like the culinary yeah, culinary vegetables. Okay, tomatoes, okra, that kind of thing. Cucumber,
Avocado.
avocado. Yeah, okay. So that's the question. What are my thoughts on those?
Yeah. Do you consume those? And yeah, what are your thoughts on those?
Yeah. All fair game. I'll just make a general blanket statement. Those are all fair game. I wouldn't have any reservations about prescribing those foods to anybody, right? So it eat them when you like, and if you and when you need. I don't have any major hangups about using them. Do I use them myself? Yeah, sure. I like tomatoes. I like okra. Sometimes I will, because I like to have fun too. I will do maybe like a zoodle. Right? Maybe if I'm in the mood for a couple of vegetables, yeah, I'll do maybe a zoodle dish, like a raw pasta, and then make some tomato sauce, tomatoes, celery, and uh, basil or something simple.
Yeah.
Uh,
She mentioned
I,
cucumbers.
Yeah, sure. And yeah. Anyway, my point is all of that is fair game. I don't take any issues with that. If you're asking me personally, what my routine is and how often I would use those, it's fewer and further between than the average raw vegan, more than likely. My typical routine, like my kind of day-to-day normal ebb and flow in terms of diet, is mostly mono meals of fruit, right? So that's when I'm doing that, that's when I'm just at home and I feel the best. That's my easy flow routine, right? If I want to change things up or try a different recipe that I've not tried before, experiment, then I'll make use of those things, and I love it, and they taste fantastic. So yeah, no issues there. You can play around with those to your heart's content, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, we found when we are on a high fruit diet is that you don't think about meals anymore. It's not
Yeah,
like, yeah,
yeah,
breakfast, lunch, and dinner, because that is such a crazy concept, actually.
yes. Yeah, it changes. It definitely changes things. Um, when you have a mono meal, there's something very interesting that happens with a mono meal, is it tends to put you in a closer relation to only what you need in that meal, rather than just kind of comfort eating, like you were talking about before. There's only so, like, if okay, percent we'll use yesterday as an example. Made a meal of persimmons, right? I made a meal of persimmons. And by the time you get through like a couple persimmons, it's like you get full faster, or you get full satisfied, right? You get satisfied with more ease when you only are eating one thing at a time. If you're eating multiple things at a time, it tends to wake up the beast, and it can create a bit more of a ravenous appetite when there's all sorts of different flavor profiles coming down the pipe. It's an interesting thing, right? When it's really, really simple, technically you should be hungrier, but it's not, right? Like I guaranteed, if you had just a whole bunch of apples for dinner, you would come to satiety much faster off just eating apples than, you know, the conventional lavish arrangement of other foods. And a lot of the time you have cooked starches and veggies and whatnot, then you're still peckish. It's like, yeah, you could go for dessert, and you have a little bit of dessert, and then throw a couple of nuts and seeds at the end of it just always, it goes on and on. But that tends to happen less when you're mono eating, right, or mono mealing. I don't want to speak for everybody though. For the audience, if you guys are listening, try it, right? Try it and just see how you respond, right? See how you feel. See if that ends up being the case for you. It might not be the case for a couple of people, but I've found, and from what other people tell me, that this is very often the case, is that mono eating kind of puts you into better touch with what your body really only needs, and not more than that, right? When you eat only one thing in its simplicity.
Yeah, it's
I found that.
interesting. Yeah, it's interesting. For me, it actually happened naturally.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, it just felt better. Not having different kinds of fruits. It was just no one fruit. If I have
Yeah.
kiwis, I have 3, 4 kiwis, and I'm satisfied.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You know,
mine
and
is oranges. I love oranges. I get to sit down and eat oranges and be totally satisfied.
oh, wonderful. Oranges are very interesting. They're, of the fruits, they're um they're supposedly one of the most satisfying fruits to eat, to mono meal on. Oranges.
Hmm.
There's something about them that they kind of bring satiety very, very quickly if you just mow down on oranges.
They're
Wonderful.
beautiful, they smell good, and they taste good.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. It's a wonderful thing, it's a wonderful thing. And it really does so much for a person's life, again. And it's not just a physical thing. It's a complete constitutional thing, head to toe, mind, emotions, and your body, to start to, at least, for people that haven't really paid this much thought, it's worth trying, right? It's worth trying. Okay, I should say, worth trying. That doesn't mean go right to eating an all fruit diet right away from whatever people might be doing. That's not necessarily what I mean. There, you would want some sort of graduated progressive thing, right? I would say the first step for people who want to start reforming their diet, the very first step is maybe not even switching up what you eat, but just, well, yeah, switching up what you eat, but just removing all of the very negative influences on the diet. That's the first step. Is just, you have to start hurting yourself first. You have to stop driving nails into your forearm. You have to stop hitting your toe with a hammer, right? You have to stop bringing a jackhammer to your temple, right? You want to stop hurting yourself first and allow your body to kind of recover. And that's step one. So start to get accustomed to what it feels like to eat meals with no oil, right? Start to get accustomed to having your body reconfigure its energy metabolism when it's not relying on coffee for that artificial boost, right? This artificial boost that is so deleterious to your nervous system every single time you indulge or imbibe a cup of coffee. People don't realize how harmful these stimulants are. They really don't. So your first step would be to remove those influences. Yeah, anything that's unnatural, anything that's a contrivance, like a human concocted contrivance, right? Get rid of those and see if you can live comfortably on only natural foods. Okay. Uh, how many combinations, how many quantities, how often you eat these natural foods, who cares? It makes no difference. Just have fun, experiment, go nuts, do whatever you need to do, so long as you are tailoring your diet to only natural foods, to the exclusion of all things that are offensive to the system. And that's step one. And then just enjoy that for, well, as long as you want. A year, 2 years, 3 years, whatever. Who cares? Right? That just keep having fun there. At some point, there will just be a natural, effortless shift to make further little refinements, and it won't require any thinking on your end. It'll just gracefully and elegantly start to happen, and you just go with the flow, and onward and upward from there. But that only happens, that effortless upward progression only happens only if you remove all of the deleterious influences from your diet. It does not happen if you include them. It doesn't happen if you include them in moderation. Oh, I'm only going to moderate, and I'm only going to have, I'm only going to go drinking once every 2 weeks, right? Oh, I still want my chocolate. Okay. It's not going to happen that way, right? Unfortunately, this isn't how health works, right? You need the complete removal of things that are offensive to the system, right? Because if you don't completely remove them, you will chronically reactivate the kind of nervous pathways associated with those things, and you'll never rebalance your palate completely. It. Unfortunately, I know that makes people like myself very unpopular in the conventional nutrition world. But what can you do? Truth is truth, right? There's no such thing as moderation for poisonous things. Period. End of story. Lecture over, go home. Right?
Yeah, that is a good one.
Yeah.
We see that a lot in the group being posted. Oh, everything is okay as long as it's in moderation. And I'm like,
Yeah.
oh.
Yeah. No, nonsense. Nonsense. I have yet to encounter a squirrel who moderated the use of coffee. I've never seen it. I probably will never see it. And I imagine I wouldn't see any other animal on planet Earth, having moderation in coffee, or processed chocolate, or whatever. It doesn't happen. It doesn't work. It's a trick. The world is fooling you. The world is fooling you, right? The only thing that you can moderate is your natural food. That's what you moderate. Everything else, you are to use responsibility and discipline to expunge from your life. Okay? That is the best thing that you could do. And I know that kind of hard lined advice, yeah, is not popular. But again, what do you want me to do? I'm not here to lie to people. Right? Sure, we can, sometimes you tailor the way you give the message, right? You tailor it, depending on what your audience is like. With people in person, yeah, you always strategically use whatever approach you think is best. Really soft, very subtle, maybe omit some of the harder, more regimented, more marshaled bits of philosophical advice, right? You always tailor how you give the message to who, right? But in this case, because I'm not talking to anyone in particular, and not when I'm not talking about you guys, I mean, I'm talking to your general audience, okay? Because it's kind of general, yeah, we'll just go with those the tough love approach. That's how I learned. I had it was the tough love approach with me, and I felt that was very effective. And so
Yeah,
sometimes I like to use that too.
yeah, absolutely, with the tough love. What we see a lot is that people have health issues and they think they are normal because they're common. Like
Right.
like constipation and headaches and
Ah,
rashes and like, yeah, well, it's not that bad and they keep waiting or waiting, they keep eating the
yeah.
same old until it really hits them and then they have cancer or, and then
Mhm.
it's like, why didn't I start sooner?
Yeah.
So, but I do have people who tell me that they are completely healthy, and then I started. Do you have headaches? Do you have constipation? Do you have diarrhea? And like, why do you think that is normal? That is not how the body is supposed to function.
Yeah.
My sister died a year and a half ago.
Oh,
My youngest sister,
um,
cancer, and she had my information, and she was just laughing about it because the doctors all knew it much better, and I was not trained. I actually considered getting my degree as a naturopath, and then I thought, why would I want to do that? I have the information that I need that I can share, but why? If I do it only because if I have a degree, then people may be listening to me.
yeah.
And it's like, so I gave up on that. And it's just with the tough love, making people see that they are not as healthy as they are, and that it
Yeah.
is not normal to have those things, always sinus issues, stomach issues, and you see it with men a lot with a big belly, and that they have gut issues. But yeah, all these things are so normalized. So the tough love is absolutely necessary at times. And I do wish I had done that more with my sister, but I don't know if she was ready to receive because some
Right.
people just aren't.
Right. Right.
I call it
It's
the hard
very.
truth.
Oh, I'm
Yep.
sorry. I'm sorry. Go ahead. I sorry.
No, it's no problem. I was just saying that I call it the hard truth.
That's a good one.
And yeah, the people and a lot of people are not ready for it. And to circle back real quick about when you were talking about that other gentleman, I have no clue about him at all. I've never looked into him, or I guess I came after he already switched. But a lot of
Oh,
people will also turn to the meats and stuff because meats and acidic foods are very suppressing. And when you're on the fruits, as we learned last week with Thad, the fruits will bring a lot of stuff to the surface. And a lot of times you are dealing with traumas and stuff that a lot of people may not be ready for, too. And, it's just the hard truth of it that you just have to keep going and they have to come out. And the
yeah.
fruits will bring it out of you. And maybe, like I said, I have no clue of this gentleman, but maybe some stuff was starting to surface in him that he couldn't handle anymore at that time. And with acidic foods being more suppressive, it just kind of pushed it all down. And also, too, that a lot of fatty foods and stuff like that are similar to taking ibuprofen, where they give you like an effect of like a feeling good or taking away some kind of pain. I mean, everybody always knows you turn to ice cream for emotional problems, right?
Yeah,
And
that's
your
right.
boyfriend breaks up with you, you go eat a bunch of ice cream.
Only
Why?
on
Because
TV.
yeah, it's suppressive. Well, yeah, I mean, I'm just speaking like what we've been told. It's
Yes.
suppressive. So it's going to suppress those emotions for you when really it does no good for anybody to suppress anything, because eventually it's coming out one way or another, whether it comes out your eyes, your nose, your scalp, it's gonna come out. So might as well get it going now and deal with the hard truth and just keep moving forward.
Heck yeah. Heck yeah. Well said. Well said. It's you know, there's also that thing where uh be because people make a transition, right? Okay, so when we're talking about diet, right? The body is magic. Okay, you have been gifted an incredible, almost superhero like force in your system. It works these miracles every day, and it's these miracles. I mean, they just each and every one of them they exemplify and glorify the grandeur of nature's intelligence every single moment, right? Working these miracles. And it happens so consistently without ever ceasing that we just you know, we take it for granted. We definitely take for granted the operations of our body. But it's when you think about everything that is going on right now inside your body, every operation, it beggars belief at the coordination and intelligence, the planning, the mathematically precise structuring, the biochemistry. Like you couldn't even in your wildest imagination imagine constructing anything more divine or beautiful, right? That operates itself, that self cleans itself, right? When parts get worn out, it replaces them hands free. Are you crazy? What machine do you know that could do something so wonderful? Right? So we have this internal power that is really the source of our how do I say this? Of the everything that we do in life is powered, right? Is powered from this kind of internal source energy. And so when we're eating a diet, it's the diet, it's not the diet itself that is giving us all of these wonderful benefits. What it what it is the diet that gets out of the way the most and allows that internal force, that internal intelligent force to run as unimpeded as possible. That will be the diet that will express health in your life. Okay. And your natural diet, the reason it is so wonderful in all the ways that we've been talking about today, the reason why it's so wonderful is not necessarily because there's something magical in the food. There is, but for the sake of what I'm saying, just let me kind of flesh out the idea. It's not necessarily that the constituents of the food that you're eating is doing the magic in your body. Only your body can pull off those magical feats, right? It's only your body that does the action. The food that you eat is really just to repair tissues, right? It's these are constructive materials, constructive raw materials that your body intelligence configures and uses or discards as waste if it doesn't need anything. But that diet that we're eating, what it does is it allows your body to run as more unimpeded by wastes, right? They're very little waste products, very little to interfere with that flow of energy through you. And so we eat the diet and it does us really well. But you can eat other things from other food categories, right? And if you eat them to the exclusion of a lot of things that weigh you down, that create a lot of waste, then technically you can eat something that is not ideal at all. But if you eat it to the exclusion of all these other mistakes that you could possibly be making that weigh your system down, the end product might still be healing to some degree, because that life force is, you save a lot of life force, right, and internal energy by abstaining from many of the other dietary offenses, right? So a lot of the time when people hear about this kind of, this meat diet thing, they they that's what they do, and they go on an all meat diet, but they go on this all meat diet to the exclusion of all the other things that people get wrong about diet. So they're still excluding coffee, process excuse me, processed grains, sugars, oil. A lot of them don't even use oils, right? It's just a cooked meat diet. So when you get rid of all that, you conserve a certain amount of vital force, and you can do well, right? You can do fairly well, but it's not because of the flesh diet that you're on. It's in spite of it. You can live for a very long time with an alcohol uh, an alcohol issue, right? Or a smoking habit. A chronic marijuana smoking habit. Yeah, you can live very well, including these things in your life, but no one would ever make the mistake in saying that these are healthy, like these are health promoting, right? They're not, right? They're not. It's just that your body is so unbelievably magical that it's willing to tolerate some of the things that are offensive, just to let you live comfortably. Um, and so there's that element to consider about this as well, is that you know when we talk about energy balance and managing your vital force, um, you can get away with pretty much with eating lots of different things. You can do. You guys are familiar with the people that have tried just a potato diet, right? Just eating potatoes. There was a guy a while back. Uh, I can't remember.
Australia.
They made a documentary, and just
Hmm.
just eating potatoes, and he ended up getting into phenomenal shape, for considering where he was coming from. What was that? Did you say something? What do you
Yeah,
remember what?
I do. He was in Australia and they had like a whole documentary on him and I watched
Yeah,
it. I can't remember his name, but yeah, I mean, but he came from, what was he, like 500 pounds
yeah, something
or
like that.
something?
Yeah, something
Yeah.
like that.
So he came
Eating.
from pretty poor health to with depression and all kinds of stuff he had going on.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Eating just potatoes, right?
Hmm.
I imagine that there are a lot of things that you could eat, and if you just mono-mealed on those things, to the exclusion of everything else, you would conserve a whole bunch of vital force, vital power, right? Internal energy, and the end result would be healing to some capacity, right? Because it's an improvement over what you were doing before, which was just the inclusion of all sorts of mistakes, dietary mistakes, right? So there's that to consider, and and
Yeah,
and now.
he may have
Oh,
eaten
sorry.
potatoes every day anyway. He just
Mhm.
left out all the rest.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah, he just left out all the rest. Yeah, and leaving out all the rest, then your body just like, oh, really? I don't have to spend. I don't, it's like money, right? Oh, I don't have to spend money cleaning up all these other things. Oh, great. Okay, well, I guess we save a whole bunch. We save $500 this, today. Then the next day, oh, we save another $500. Oh, we save another $500. Eventually, you get enough currency, resources, right? You get enough energy to for your body to intelligently now start using that energy to make structural changes in your body, and then that's when you see things like weight coming off, your skin issues clear up, whatever it is.
Yeah, I wouldn't recommend it to anyone though.
Yeah.
They
Yeah, I
keep
would
it,
My
definitely.
yeah.
Oh,
I would
no,
say
sorry, sorry.
Chad, my son is definitely on the potato diet. That's all he
Oh,
does
is he?
eat.
Oh,
Yes, and it's he has autism, and
yeah,
we've been
yeah.
through so many different therapies and just trying things, but we do
Mhm.
have him on orange juice as well, and he will
Right.
take that with no problem now. But it was a battle. But I mean, he did when he was born. I breastfed, and then we went
Yeah.
straight to our fruits and his vegetables. He's actually never had meat in his life. And
Oh,
one was, I've always been either a vegetarian, vegan type thing. But then, two, even when he was presented it, he's always refused it.
mm, mm.
So he's 17 years old now, and he's a big guy. He's pretty tall and everything too. So
Oh, wow. Wow.
we'll see.
Yeah. Right, 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 right. Yeah, but, well, before I never went on the potato diet, but I was pretty close prior to me doing this lifestyle of just like kind of raw, mostly raw fruit and veggies, nuts and seeds from time to time. Yeah, before I made that change, oh my goodness, guys, yeah, potatoes. Oh, that was my world. Every day, potatoes, almost every day. Maybe sometimes I would switch it up and be like, oh, come on, Eli, you can't have potatoes again. Try some quinoa this time. Try some, go for some lentils or whatever. But yeah, it was potatoes. And man, like there's so, even if we're talking about being less strict, right? And still including cooked food in your life, right? Because some people might not want to give up cooked. Okay, so are there healthy options? Are there can you get can you get access to some of the benefits that we're talking about here if you still want to include some cooked food? Uh, yeah, you can make some alterations and changes and modify, what type of things that you're cooking and how you're cooking and yeah, and have a very, very, very health promoting life, right? A very healthy life. Um, there's there's lots of options. Here's a funny option, an interesting option. Have you guys ever tried? Sorry if I'm drifting off topic or whatnot, but just a random little suggestion. Have you guys ever put together bananas and onion? Sounds strange, I know. It's a cooked meal. So this is a cooked meal option. So you just take bananas and you mash them and you can maybe you can get some onions in a pot or a pan, excuse me. Maybe preheat that a little bit and then add the bananas in and then just kind of bake them, or you can even put them in the oven. But just baked onion and banana, mashed banana and onion. It's kind of like a porridge, right? Like a breakfast porridge, a classical breakfast porridge, except it's just made from banana and onion, right?
I've
It's
never tried that.
You've never tried that.
No.
The,
No, never even heard
yeah,
of that, tell you the truth.
Yeah, the first time I saw it was on vacation. I saw this in the Dominican, and they would bring that out every once in a while, and I didn't even know what it was. I kind of just ignored it. I didn't pay it any mind. And I took a closer look, and then I asked the guy. He's like, "What is this?" And he's like, "Oh, it's just bananas." And I'm like, really? It's just bananas? And like, okay, okay. What else is in here? Is there oil? Is there vinegar? What stupid things are in here, right? And he's like, no, no, no. It's no, none of that. It's literally just bananas and onion. I'm like, get out of here. So and I tried it, and I don't eat cooked food is not a routine in my diet. I don't eat cooked food. But yeah, if I was very, very, very curious and I tried it and it was phenomenal, right? Oh, good. So, yeah, anyway, that's there
So now
are,
now you gave us an idea.
yeah, it's just something fun to try, something fun to just play around with and experiment with. There
Yeah.
are so many options in the plant-based world, right? There is a dizzying amount of options for you to make very, very simple and easy preparations at home, um, with without having to go the meat option and the dairy option. Like we really don't need to be doing this anymore. There's so many options. You can live like a bloody king, okay, or queen. It, so many options. So yeah, when it comes to looking after your health, guys, right? You want to do what you can to be as natural as possible, right? Eat as close to your physiological endowments as possible. There's room to play though. There's definitely room to play. Your body, like we said, your body is magic. It's gonna look out for you. It can deal with the occasional little challenge here or there that is maybe suboptimal. Your body's more than capable of doing that. What your body doesn't appreciate is when you chronically, consistently, day to day mess up. That starts to weigh on your body over time, but not, it can deal with the occasional treat here or there as long as you are very, very consistent with doing the right thing. So yeah, a lot of avenues to help. It
Yeah, and
doesn't
keep it
have
as
to be the
simple
strict.
as possible. Eli, I
Right.
know we can listen to you for probably a few more hours, but we're not going to today. We usually have the podcast an hour and well, 15 minutes. We are a little
Oh,
over
I see.
that, but I don't want to
Oh,
make it,
shoot.
I don't want to make it too long. But I
Oh,
would
I see.
love to have you back on sometime soon.
Hmm.
And
Absolutely.
I enjoyed it a lot listening to you, and you are amazing, and you are an example to many of us.
Oh,
So thank you so much.
Hmm. Yes, thank you
oh,
so much. And I mean, everybody can hear it in your spirit. They can hear your voice. I mean, I can feel your energy, and
oh,
I'm sure everybody can too. And that is just like one of the most wonderful benefits that you can get from this lifestyle. And
yes.
I mean, you're all in Canada. I'm in Ohio. Tony's in Florida, and I'm sure all our listeners are all over the place. And your energy is radiating that far, so think about what we can all do if we all start doing this together. Every time you go out in public, I mean, you're
Yes.
changing people's lives and you're shining like one of the most brightest lights possible. And thank you so very much. And I really enjoyed this, and I really hope that we get to talk with you again.
Oh, guys, that is so flattering. I don't even know what to do with it. Thank you.
Just keep
All the
being
pleasure is
you.
mine. Yeah, oh, you guys are too kind. Yeah, thank you. I really, really, really had fun with this, and it's also, isn't it nice to know that you're doing something that's constructive and helpful for people? There's something
Hmm.
so unbelievably gratifying about that you can't put words to it. So I appreciate you allowing us to do that, or to endeavor to do that, to do something that's constructive and helpful for everybody. That is very good karmically, I feel. So
Yeah,
I appreciate it. Yeah, I'm really, really happy that we did this, guy.
Well, thank
it's
you,
being,
Eli,
yeah,
and yeah, and Sarah, and much love to you all.
absolutely. It's
And
being virtuous and standing in the truth. That's all it really is. And that's what
That's
we
it.
try to do. Yep.
That's it.
exactly.
And
So
thank you,
again,
Tony.
thank you all for being here. Yeah, we all enjoyed it. We enjoyed, this was the 101st what is it, episode, but we have
Episode.
been doing this podcast, and
Oh,
I think there are many more to come. We love it. So thank you
Yeah.
again, and till the next time. Bye-bye.
Bye bye.
thanks, guys. Take care. Bye bye.